I think Gustavo.
All right. Here's the link. I reckon we're live on Facebook already.
Here we go. I'm going to share the link as well.
All right, we are kind of live. Let's wait.
Facebook seems online.
Yeah.
YouTube, I think, as well.
Yeah, YouTube as well. I'm watching live video. Yeah, there's 15 people. Yeah, I'm just gonna start.
Yeah, I think just start.
All right, wait. It's just the video is not.
Facebook seems.
Is the video okay showing there to everyone?
Yeah.
I can't see the Zoom screens. It's quite a lot of people, actually.
Yeah, 5 people, nobody talking.
Are we live already? Or like
I think so.
Yeah. It's quite a lot of people. Oh yeah. Yeah, we are live. Are we? But no
here.
Homeless. No, you live together, right?
Yeah. Your favorite Brazilian.
Where's the six-pack?
Okay, we are live now. Welcome everyone. We are here with Dnox, Beckers, Anthony Papa, Liam Seeker, and Houghton. Hey everyone. We are here joining to talk a little bit about Dnox and Beckers' new masterclass that's coming out soon this month. And we just wanted to have a little chat about everything related, music related, and whatnot. So I'll jump straight into it, and I'll start. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna go from artist to artist, ask a few questions to each of you, ask a little bit about the masterclass, and then we can just improvise and talk, interrupt each other, and just kind of add whatever you have in mind. All right, so I'll jump straight into it to start with Christian and Beckers. Christian Dnox is live from Brazil, Beckers live from Berlin, Anthony Papa from Melbourne, and Liam Seeker as well, and me and Houghton from Sydney. And so for those who live under a rock, we have here Dnox and Beckers, who need no introduction if you are from the music industry. They are well-renowned DJs and producers with over 25 years combined of experience in the electronic music. And I just wanted to start with Chris and ask you a little bit about how you started in the music industry. I know you guys had backgrounds, family of musicians, and started very early. So just tell a bit how you started in the electronic music universe.
Yeah, well, the electronic music for me was actually my first contact when I used to go out as a teenager. in the early 90s in my city, hometown Düsseldorf in Germany. And yeah, well, you know, you go out as a teenager, and for me it was just that new thing that happened back then, that sound. I didn't have any chance to listen to any other music before. Well, at home, yes, and in the radio, but I mean, going out-wise, it was that I went, they took me to a nightclub, and it was electronic music, techno right away, and I was like fascinated, talking about the year 91, 92-ish. Yes. But I was already a bit of a home bedroom DJ, recording music from the radio on cassette, and then later on was just a logical consequence, buying records, vinyls with techno music. Yeah.
Really nice. So I know you guys started with the duo in a little bit of a turbulent moment that Frankie was thinking about giving up, and then you came in to him and started to push him, and you guys started a project with the duo. So just tell us a little bit how you guys met and how this whole thing started, and from the early days. Maybe I'll ask Frankie now. So
yeah, so yeah, I mean, it was, at least I was not like really giving up, because for me it was clear that music will always be the main part of my life, whatever music it's gonna be. But at that moment, it was like like a kind of an empty period in my head where creatively I didn't know where to go. But in the same time, we had quite a big group of people who are really involved and passionate about electronic music. That's where I know Chris from. He was from that group, but after maybe a few years, it became clear that maybe he's the only one that takes it also as serious as me. So that's what's the main reason also, like, okay, man, let's give it a chance, because for us, it's not just like a funny hobby. I think we took it really serious already back in the day. So, and that's why we started doing it together, and with no real intentions, but in the end, yeah, here we are today, still doing it.
Nice. Yeah, that's really important when you defer from a hobby to really a professional and something you put your mind into it, which changed completely the mindset. Nice. And just how do you guys approach to this in terms of sound and style? Like, tell a bit about your progress and your journey from the early days until today.
Well, I think many things came together, right? First of all, my taste, my personal taste. Also then a bit of what I got during my age of being teenager, and also what Frankie had brought into it. Plus, the parties we used to go to at those times were mostly like doof parties, like festivals like Rainbow Serpent. We had such thing in Germany too, still have. No, right now not, but. And so we had a bit of this psychedelic thing going on, plus my club thing as a DJ playing club music, and then Frankie's all these influences from being musician in bands. So there was like three main components that we put together without knowing. We just crossed them together and made this kind of sound, which is a bit undefined, but let's say it's this progressive house thing. Yeah, it's like psychedelic house, sort of groovy, hypnotic, a bit like this.
But it was never on purpose, no? It was never intentional. We just met and we did what we felt like. It was never like, hey, let's try to get in this direction or something. We never think till today we did this, actually. It was just what happens. At the moment it happens.
Yeah, and it keeps changing all the time, I imagine, because everything keeps changing as well. Yeah, really cool. And one thing I wanted to ask is, what would you say that it was crucial in the beginning that brought you to the position you guys are today? So like something that clicked in, or a mindset, or something you guys started doing that was crucial to bring you guys to the position you guys are today, which are such an inspiration for the scene.
I think there's always a little bit, of course, of luck involved. And I think, if I remember right, it was that time when we met and when we started to get successful. It was actually, I think, when Chris had some key successful gigs in Brazil, actually, that suddenly everybody was talking about him, and at the same time my hit Switch came out that was getting famous all over the world. And so that were actually two separate events that both made us famous also at the same time. And I think that was the starting point. But yeah, Chris usually knows a little bit better about all the historical events.
No,
Very cool.
Yeah.
You want to add anything, Chris?
No, just to complete. Yeah, it was the year 2004 when we started to make music together, and we were giving it a try, a remix for Air Bureau. It was. So then we released it on my label Sprout, and then people start to dig the tracks, and then we made another one, and then it was already Jetlag Slave, which became the most sold track in Beatport in the year 2007. And then there was Switch, Frankie just said. Then there was another track, 7 Hours. So we had like a lucky phase in around between 2004, 5, 6, 7 to 9 maybe, where we conquered the top 10 in Beatport progressive house. Yes, and then
yeah, actually, you guys were probably one of the first ones I heard about on the electronic universe, because I had a lot of friends from Brazil who used to listen D-Nox and Beckers, D-Nox and Beckers, you know. Like, now I'm talking to you guys, which is a pleasure. Yeah, so one other thing in this journey subject, I wanted to ask, after all these years, you guys experienced a lot of things, released a lot of different music. So what would you say that makes your music and your performances unique and different from other artists, or I don't know, you know?
Frankie, say something.
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I mean, I can say that what it actually makes different, it's hard to say, as I said, because I don't think it's much about it. But I think one thing is that what I still try to do till today, like even it's now, I don't know, 15, 20 years in the business, never really take it easy, you know, like for each gig, I try to prepare a couple of hours, and never like, yeah, I have my tracks from last weekend, and so I just go. Like every moment, every weekend, every gig, and of course, every track we produce, it's going to be always like 200% effort, you know, never like just getting lazy because everything is running by itself. I think that's very dangerous.
100%. Yeah, good one. And in terms of Australia, because we probably have a lot of viewers from Australia now, what would you be the experience and some highlights you guys have in here, like playing at festivals and so on?
Yeah, Australia is a bit similar like Brazil. We had a lucky booking there in 2004 at Rainbow Serpent, thanks to the Rainbow Serpent people. And then, well, it was the right moment, playing the right set, the closing set on the main stage. First time that this kind of people probably heard this kind of sound in an environment like this, on a psychedelic event, you know. Yeah. There was a guy that started to play 125 slower BPM than what they used to hear. And it opened up a whole new thing for them, I guess. And then they started to book me again and again. And well, today is a whole different thing. Of course, things have opened much more. But if you have to try to remember, in 2004, there was the outdoor festivals were basically 100% psychedelic trance. Yeah. And there was no drum and bass happening. There was maybe a chill out floor, yeah, which is also kind of psychedelic. But club music had no space there. And we kind of were the guys that brought this sound, yeah, groovy, hypnotic, psychedelic house, let's say, to these people. And this is what it made. Yeah.
I also have to add that I really, especially the Rainbow Serpent Festival, I think till today it's still probably my favorite festival, and I really feel very sorry for the guys that they got actually fucked 2 times this year. You know, first with the bushfires, and then the pandemic came around. So I mean, really, really sad for the guys.
Yeah, lots of downsides happened this year, but we are gonna be resilient and come back as soon as it's all over. Hopefully. All right, and just to finish a little bit the section, and then I'll jump to the other guys. I wanted to ask more about the Masterclass. So how did you guys came up with this idea, which is it's perfect timing, I reckon, since everyone is more like locked down and trying to learn new things and trying to produce more. So how did you come about with the idea of it?
Well, I got asked by some guys from Brazil, a company which is running this kind of business. They approached me and they said, "Well, Chris, you have to do this. You have to do this," even before the pandemic, you know. But for me, it was like this huge project mountain that I was never able to climb up. And, you know, get a camera team, a production team, sit in the studio, make a script, make a tutorial.
You know?
And then the pandemic started, and then we understood after a couple of weeks, it's a serious thing. Events won't come back. And Frankie was in the point saying that, well, looks like I have to go back to what I actually studied as a profession. He's a teacher, actually.
Oh, cool.
And I said, no, before you go to teach kids in school, let's go and teach people from what we really know. Making music, showing them what we know, our skills, our experiences, and share them with those people that know about us and those people that we reach, you know. And then in June, I flew to Germany, and then we actually decided pretty quick, right? Within a couple of days, we got a production team to the studio. We set up the lighting, the whole thing, the sound, and I think it took us around 7 days to record the whole thing, and maybe another 2 months to edit, to translate, to color grade and all this, and to finalize the product.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's really like that we wanted to also give not only the knowledge of producing a track in the most simple way, so that also people like me, who is actually I see myself as a DJ, understands how to make a track, but also from those 15 years that we have together to give like all this knowledge, you know, believe in yourself, even it's not always easy, and make sure where you get your inspirations from, this whole thing.
Cool. And just jumping a bit more, diving into the masterclass, what would you say the students can expect from the course? What can they, in terms of like structure, how they're going to learn from basic to pro, what can they expect?
Yeah, I mean, we try to find the right balance, of course, that it's well for totally beginners that really can start from scratch with an easy setup, just a laptop and headphones, how to produce a track really from the beginning, kick, drums, and then the melody, the harp, the effects, all the steps that you need for that. But also on the other hand, it's we try to give a lot of more advanced tips, and also, as Chris said, sharing our experiences, like more like thinking processes, how to using the right terms, if you think on talk and analyze music. And I think there's a lot of in-depth stuff that even like very experienced producers will maybe not know. And on the other hand, it's also for really beginners that maybe don't have any knowledge at all, and they can really start from scratch. So I hope that we made this happen.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm really keen to see as well, because I have a few friends that are already very interested, and I'm gonna obviously sneak peek. So you guys want to just say how can they purchase, and which links and where can they find? It's on social media, or how can they reach out to the course?
Yes, we have, of course, our social medias are full of advertisements and informations, videos, also the links. That shouldn't be a problem to find. And the day of sale will be September 14th to 16th. There's like a window for sale. September 14th will come with a special price then, and then the other days will be a little higher before we take it off. And then, it's like
modern days. And how did you react to it to stay relevant?
But for me, my story is very similar to Christian, to Dnox. It's the DJ background from the late 80s, early 90s. buying records, listening to records, going to a club, and then wanting to be the DJ, playing records. And then basically I moved to the UK in 1995 because it was to follow my passion and dream as a DJ. I started producing in 96. My second track that I made was a #1 record in Germany, actually, which it was actually my second track that was released, but it took many tracks that I made that I didn't like, didn't release, make another one, change it. So yes, it was my second release, but not really my second track. And for me, it was always using Logic. And then Ableton, I started on Ableton in 2006 more as a DJ to do my mix albums. And then as Ableton progressed and became with the updates, the newer versions, it became a great platform to also produce. And now, using Ableton for DJ mixes, for mix albums, edits, and also for producing tracks like in the video, which I have to say, I watched it yesterday. It's amazing. I love the way you guys go step by step. The instructions are very clear for a beginner or for someone who's been doing this for a long time. For me, the best thing I thought about what you guys cover in the video is it's a long video, but it's 6 hours is a short time to put all your experience and knowledge to show people what you have learned, which has taken years and years and years of trying things, releasing things, learning, making mistakes, making it better, and to just show people this is what works for us, this is what you can do, this is how you should do it, this is how we do it, and putting people on the right path. I mean, there's no right or wrong way when it comes to being creative, to being an artist. The track can sound however it's going to sound, but to cut out all the elimination of the years that you took to learn this process and explain it simply in the short little clips, step by step, fantastic. Very
nice.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good insight.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because people usually don't know what to expect, and I'm pretty sure, as you said, it's hard to condense all these years of knowledge into just a few hours. But yeah, apparently it's really nice. Are you guys maybe thinking of doing another classes later, or depending on how it goes?
Yeah, I mean, there were some considerations, I think, because when you start doing something like that and you start in the beginning to write down all the content that you want to cover, you start realizing, man, there's actually so much more like in-depth stuff. Like we were thinking about maybe like in terms of like things that are only about like harmony stuff, like theory, really, like music theory. You can get as deep as you want into this and can make a whole masterclass only of this. So there are a lot of options, but yeah, it's still nothing set up, but yeah, it's surely a possibility that we're gonna keep on doing this, maybe.
Nice. Yeah, all right. Just passing the ball now to Houghton, which is my partner on 42 Degrees as well. I have releases on Knee Deep, Stereo, and Brazilian as well, like me. And for you, because you've been teaching music production and mentoring a few guys already for a while, so I just wanted to ask you, what do you think is the most valuable aspect that someone can absorb from these classes, from this 101 and online classes or whatever?
Hello guys, good night. It's the first time I talk here, so yeah, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I think the crucial thing is to always keep learning, because when you just the music subject, you always have something to learn. So if you can afford to have a course, from experienced people, just go for it and do it, because it's the best way, especially now in this pandemic, because we can do online stuff. You can learn a lot from different perspectives, people with more experience than you, so I think it's really, really important if you have time and can afford to do some course, for your own good, so you can progress. I think it's really important, because like for me, my own experience, I just didn't have money to learn. So I had to go on unis and grab the subjects and the books and study, like mixing down. I was literally hustling to grab the information because I just couldn't afford, even in Australia, because it's kind of hard for us that comes from a different place. But then eventually you learn. But that's the key. Always have in your mind that you need to learn, and then
never ready.
Yeah, exactly. And then you progress. Also, it's good for the ego. You don't have the ego. No, I know everything, because there's always someone that knows more than you. Always there's.
100%. Yeah. So, and just regarding more of your production process, because you have a debut album, your first one, full-length album coming up. So, just tell us a bit how you approach in the software. How do you approach to your productions?
I like to work with workflows. I know it's not a rule. Everyone works differently. For me, it works very well because I had this problem in the beginning that I couldn't finish a track because I always was always trying to be the perfect track. So I couldn't get things out. So now I have this kind of workflow inside of my head. So I start with a key. So I think more about the scale first, and then I start the project. Like developing more my stuff, my music. I started thinking more related to record labels, where my music fits in, and also trying on gigs. So that's the kind of workflow I try to implement on the music I create. Doing EP is different than album. That's my first album that I'm just diving into. An album, I think I'm just like giving an approach of a story. So I'm just trying to create like a whole set in the album, from intro to outro. It's a different approach. In terms of EP, just more like inspiration, and just like do 1-2 tracks, one more banging, another one more like closing. It's a bit different. In the technical way, I think more in a way that I have to create first, and then I think in a mix down, and then mastering. But it's so much that we can talk about it, because we can stay here for 3 hours just talking about the workflows we have, But I think the most important thing is just to think about the key first. I think not many people talk about it. I like to think more in the key, like C minor, F minor, whatever key it is, and just focus on that first. And then I start developing my inspiration about the track, because you can make any key, like from any genre, and then you can get lost. So I found this way to don't get lost. So I choose the key first, and then I start getting inspired, and I finish the track quicker.
Yeah, which is a good tip as well. If someone is stuck to how it begins, how to start, maybe that's a good tip to just like start with the key, and that might launch everything else.
Yeah.
All right. We are also here with Liam Seeker from Melbourne. Was born and bred. Also have releases on 1.62, The Soundgarden, Revolt, and Recovery Collective, and more. It's also played at several festivals here around Australia, and recently live streamed for the Soundgardens on Beatport homepage, which was sick. And so, yeah, just tell us a little bit your experience of this, with this being on Beatport home live playing, and also your how do you start in your career?
Yeah, well, how's everyone going, by the way?
Good.
I started out at a very young age playing guitar, playing clarinet at school. This is like an extra credit. I had an interest in heavy metal as a teenager because my brothers listened to it. And then I naturally followed them into the festival scene. My brothers are 5 and 7 years older than me. So I naturally just, they started listening to psytrance, I started listening to psytrance. They started listening to techno, I started listening to techno. So I started getting into it at a young age. Went to my first festival and got hooked. That was 2013, Rainbow Serpent, my first festival. And I'm a bit of a youngin', so I am a bit younger than some of you guys, I think. So my first experiences were a bit later in life. Yeah.
I'm also kind of young in the scene because I only have like 5 years working with this. But, yeah, I
Yeah,
feel you. And just tell us a
definitely.
bit how was to be live streaming with the Soundgarden from Nick Warren and a bunch of other guys.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was probably it's funny. It was probably the biggest gig I've played to date, and it was a big achievement. And I met Nick in New Caledonia when I went over there to support him for a gig, and it started a bit of a relationship. I sent him a couple of tracks here and there, and we chatted. And yeah, he's given me some good advice and he's supported me, so I really appreciate it. And just like Anthony Papa, he's another one that's been very supportive of me recently. So yeah, it's and just ended up here, streaming for Beatport and doing the live stream with Wilma, which I thought was just a good way to express myself for the Soundgarden.
Cool, well done, man. And just tell us also just a bit about your experience with producing and what was your biggest struggles in the music production?
I started out in production about 7 years ago. I started with a friend of mine, and we started a alias called the Movricks, and so we did that for a year or two, and that was very. We tried to synthesize every single sound from scratch without having learned Ableton or, my friend knew quite a bit about Ableton and showed me a little bit as we started and we experimented. And as I started to do my solo stuff and study, I suppose my biggest hurdle was I didn't have anyone online that I really liked in the music sector that I could learn tips and tricks for the music that I wanted to learn. I had to learn music from, sort of more generic YouTube tutorials. And I had to start out learning stuff from an angle that, sort of made me work a lot harder to try and push myself into the sound that I am now. So I think the masterclass from Dnox and Beckers is a really good idea because I wish I had that when I was starting out. I would have been like, just a nice, straight V line to exactly what I want to make and how I want to do it.
Cool. Nice, man. And so I reckon I jump a bit quick right into the question. So I'm just going to ask if you guys, if there's anything you guys want to mention. Dnox and Beckers mentioned something about the masterclass. If there's something that I'm missing or just any insights anyone wanna put up?
Well, I can say that even me, that I was part of this masterclass, I have got so many new informations and tips and tricks by paying more attention this time to the whole process than I used to do before. Before I used to go to the studio, we talked about music, maybe we had an idea and we went for it, tried to recreate or to write something. But Frankie is so fast on the computer that sometimes you miss out many things, right? All these little tricks, LFO here, chorus there, and I couldn't save them all. Of course, it's just too much. And what I got myself from this recording this masterclass, it's like I got myself so much more further than I was before. Now I can sit here in my studio alone and can make a track that finally sounds proper. I can go home and say, man, I did this myself. Of course, it's not there yet because we always look for perfection and getting better and better, as Houghton said before. But the difference, the jump I made from before the masterclass and now to after the masterclass was extremely big.
That's a fun fact because you never know. Like you just decided this to do out of nowhere, and it's something that really helped you you were supposed to teach people, and you actually learned a lot more, which is pretty cool, and it shows that the masterclass is actually good because if even the teachers are learning.
Yeah, well. What you can do always is in this masterclass, you jump back, you can see the chapter again if you didn't understand. In the case I said before, when you work with someone in the studio, sometimes things happen too fast, too quick, and you miss important things, you know. And now
it's also different when you have to explain a technique to someone. Maybe like even if you already know it, you know in your head, but when you have to, you know, teach to someone else, you got to pay more attention to explain properly. So then actually you fix like 100% in your mind how it works, you know, as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
The instructions in the video are very clear, they're very simple, from people that are experienced and have the complicated knowledge, but to simplify it for someone to learn. Like exactly what Christian was saying, I was finding out things that I knew could happen that I would say to my studio partner, let's do this, it happened. But now I could see the process slowly, pause the video, look, what did you do? Look at the computer, rewind. And you could follow it step by step, as slow as you need to understand it or to make it happen, was for me a good way to take it in and to learn. And like you, Dnox, I felt like I learned more after just watching the video one time. And of course you can go back to the chapters and look again, and it's really good, really good. Very valuable information.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that Frankie, as he is a teacher, you can then also understand the way he teaches and shows, and there's a lot of knowledge to come. And we really try to make it in a way, as Anthony said, simple for everyone to understand. So we recorded the video in English. We gave it an English subtitle because sometimes our German English is not the best. And then we also decided to translate into Spanish and Portuguese, and later also into German. So we hope to give it to as many people as possible, and even for people in Brazil or in Argentina or in Mexico, so they don't need to be afraid they won't understand, because it's going to be all in their mother language. Yeah.
Really nice. Cool. And I reckon, just to wrap it up, towards the final closing moments, is more of a personal question. What would you say, if someone is not a producer, is just a DJ, how important it is the knowledge of music producing into DJing? To anyone, I don't know, whoever wants to answer that.
I think some good advice is, when you're going to go to work in the studio with a studio producer, or you're going to try to do something yourself, one of the topics that the guys talk about in the video, which is very important, is inspiration. And to have an idea even before you start, because you go in, there's a lot of sounds, there's a lot of plugins, there's a lot of effects. You can get lost in the world of the computer, the program. But if you have an idea first and something in your head that you're trying to create, a vision, then it's easier to find that with the sounds you're looking for, than to go in and just, you know, get lost in a cycle. And I like how the guys keep it simple, because it's very easy to keep adding stuff in tracks that you don't need because you think it needs more, and then it becomes messy, and then you get confused. And, you know, this is things that you learn from years of experience. And, you know, these days we have the technology, every kid has a laptop, social media, but to have that 20 years experience from making music in a simplified instructional video, really, guys, fantastic. Yeah. But yeah, inspiration, and have the idea before you start the track, because it's going to save you a lot of time. That's
and to answer your question, when I started as a DJ, I never thought that I was becoming a producer. But then pretty soon after, people started to tell me, Chris, you want to get out of your city, be a resident in just one club, you need to produce music. And it took me so long to really understand how important it is. I bought my first gear in '95. I remember burying my mixer in the sampler and stuff. But then it was there, but I never got into it. And it took me actually until now to really make clear. Of course, I started to produce music with someone, with Frankie, but it was not myself, but it's really essential if you want to be a DJ that plays around and maybe also in other countries, without productions, without your record label, without so many things these days. Yeah, but production belongs to it. Yeah, you can be a producer only. If you decide this, you don't need to be a DJ. But if you want to be a DJ playing outside your city, make sure you have productions so other people listen to your music and see it as like a business card. And
100% agree with this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also like important to add because you mentioned like Anthony's 30 years experience. You guys is pretty much the same thing. Making records and playing the records on clubs and festivals makes the whole difference as well. Instead of just being a producer, you're actually putting the music into the action, you know, like in the club or in the festival, and then you're testing out your own records and you see if it works or not. And that's so important as well, because sometimes you make something that you think is good, but in reality, it's not that good. Like also a few tracks you play like you don't think is good, and then it bangs, you know, and then on the festival or on the club, and then you think, fuck, just didn't expect that to be so good, you know, and it always happens, you know, this mixture of being DJ and producer. But yeah, being
the most actually, that's what I'm missing now a lot, because I have a lot of new music, and then this playing for people actually every weekend, it's part of the process actually, and that's I'm really missing now, because you can just guess how it's going to be on the dance floor, you know.
Yeah.
It's a shitty pandemic out there.
Yeah, and we saved also some bucks on the final mastering, because I just do my own mastering to play, you know, and test it out, and then I just send to the mastering. But now it's just like mastering all the way. You can't test it out, you know. But hopefully we get over this soon.
The feedback, you know, the feedback information from the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing it out, you get the information, you take it, mix it down, play it out, take it back.
Well,
yeah,
I miss that.
Input into production to know how is this track going to work on the dance floor? Is the kick strong enough? Is that section too long? The breakdown, you see people like, you know, was the breakdown too long? It should have come in a bit sooner. These are the things a DJ can test with the track in a club. Just make little fine-tuning touches that before the track becomes the finished track, you know. I think it's important to have that DJ club relationship where you can test things on a big system. If it's a dance record, you know.
Yeah,
100%.
If I could say one more thing, possibly. I thought it might be good to mention when I started out, you know, learning and getting into Ableton, I always had an idea of like someone else that I wanted to be, or like I was very focused on some sound that I wanted to be. And I believe to some extent, you know, if you do what comes naturally to you, if you add the sounds that come naturally to you and you play the sounds that work for you, then you'll end up with the result that you want at the end of the day. And playing that out is just finding other people that like what you want. So, you know, being yourself, I think, was important, because the moment I started not trying to make anyone else's sound and I started making my own sound was the moment just like, you know, like people started recognizing what I did. It was authentic. It was me, and people love hearing what you want to create. So
yeah, 100%, mate. Because as soon as you start trying to fake it till you make it, things are not gonna last. Like you have to be true, because otherwise it's not gonna be a long-lasting career, you know, in journey.
Yeah, definitely.
It's also a chapter in the video that the guys talk about inspiration, about getting an idea from somewhere, but taking the idea and doing something with it, not just copying it, because you don't want to make the same thing again. You want to use the inspiration to get you to somewhere else. So you hear something, oh, that sounds good. You use that idea and make it your own, and that's what makes you different, your artist. You don't want to just copy stuff. You use it to get you somewhere else. It's an important chapter about inspiration, and it's without the inspiration, it doesn't start, you know.
Yeah.
100%.
I can say this myself as a video editor, because video editing, there is always, you have to also like look for inspirations and images and design, all kind of thing. All right, guys, I reckon we are wrapping up. We already spoke for 45 minutes. We covered most of it. I'm looking very forward to your guys' masterclass. It was very nice to talk to all of you. Much appreciated for everyone who's been joining us live. Thank you to all of you guys who spoke a little bit of your minds. And I hope you guys have a good day or morning or afternoon, if you're in Berlin or Sao Paulo or Melbourne or evening.
Or Sydney.
Look forward to get back to the club with all of you guys, and stay safe, and thank you for everything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
You guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Have a good one.